All right, here we are. We are live for Tune In Tuesday. And I'm absolutely delighted with our guest that we have on today. And do you know why? It's because our guest today, the wonderful Michelle Bowden, was in fact the very first person that I learned anything about presenting from. So Michelle, welcome to our Tune In Tuesday today. Would you tell everyone a little bit about you so they can know who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you for having me, Kieran. I specialise in teaching persuasive presenting in business. So if you think about it, we're presenting all the time in life, but often we make the mistake of thinking presenting is just that once in a life moment where you're up on a stage with a lectern and a PowerPoint. And of course that is presenting, but I think we should really expand our definition and realise that we're presenting all the time to our kids, to our family members, to our boss, to our colleagues. And now we've got the added complexity of having to present via Zoom and online as well.
Oh my gosh. And some of the things I've learned in your course have stayed with me forever. Even like that thing like saying but, some of the things we say.
Yeah.
What are some of those? You just wrote a post the other day. What is the absolute shockers that we shouldn't say?
Oh, there are a couple of words. You're right. There are a couple of things that you shouldn't say because it actually repels your stakeholder. It turns people completely off and then they're not open to being persuaded by you. So one of them is not to say but or however, because it negates what you've just said and it activates the mammalian brain in the limbic system in the base of the skull, and it forces your stakeholder to go into a fight-flight response, which means they're going to either block you out, block their ears and not listen anymore, or they're going to want to really argue and fight back with you, which is definitely not what you want when you're trying to persuade. You definitely shouldn't say, for those of you who don't know me.
For those of you who don't know me.
Or I know you can't read this, but I'm going to show you anyway.
Yes.
On PowerPoint. There are other words like basically, obviously, okay, these words are easy to mismatch. Yeah. And if someone's sitting in the audience and they have a propensity to want to disagree with your argument, and then you say words like, okay, then they're going to go, no, it's not okay. And now you've caused them to want to start to argue even more. It's a bit like you're fanning the flame. Yes. The more you say these annoying words, the more annoying the audience becomes.
Yeah. Well, I love this. Look, we haven't even started and we've started. And isn't it worth noting, there's something about our environments which is very similar, isn't it, Michelle? Yeah. What's your favorite color? What's your brand color?
Yeah. Well, it's hot pink.
Yeah. Love it.
One of my top tips for presenting or communicating really.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah,
what's one of your top tips?
Well, let me start with the color, seeing as you've mentioned it. And it is just, who are you? Know yourself. We want to be authentic as presenters. And so I play this silly game with my clients where I say, what color would you be? So Kieran, what color would you be?
Well, let's work this out here. Yeah. Well, it's true, isn't it? And I think it's that what I talk about is that consistency. And so that's so important, right? Even as a presenter.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm just also checking Facebook at the same time to check comments. So if I look down, that's
please do. So what color are you? What animal would you be? Yeah. That's another really interesting question to ask yourself. I would be a chimpanzee. And the reason I'd be a chimpanzee is because they're cute and you want to cuddle them and they're hilarious, but they could rip your eyes out if they were angry with you.
I love that you say that and then you laugh.
So what animal would you be? What musical instrument would you be? Do you know what animal you'd be?
Oh, gee. Like I want to say like the lioness, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you'd be a lioness. I think that's absolutely, you hit it on the nail on the head there. What about instrument? What instrument would you be?
Oh, the first thought that came to mind was the piano, but I wonder if it's like, wouldn't it be nice to be something like a harp? Yes. My daughter's name is Harper, so I'm not sure.
You might be a harp. You might be an oboe.
An oboe. Bit irritating to the ear. Piano.
So I know it seems a silly, trivial game to play, but the more you know yourself, then the more authentic you will be when you communicate your message, and that's really important.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing the thing where you should know that you turn the sound down when you turn on Facebook Live. So forgive me for that. People are just saying hi. Lila says she would be an elephant.
Who said that?
Lila, who is tuning in, says she would be an elephant.
An elephant. I want to know why she thinks she'd be an elephant.
Yeah, tell us why, Lila.
She doesn't have body confidence issues.
Oh, I wonder. wonder. And we've got Jonah Cowdrey on as well. A few people are joining in. So that's one of your, and so I drew these tips from your book, which is a brilliant book called How to Present, the Ultimate Guide to Presenting Your Ideas and Influencing People Using Techniques that Actually Work. So your first one is know who you are.
Yeah, know who you are, be as authentic as you can. The second thing is that you need to be very serious about taking your communication moments seriously.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean that there's an art and science to great communication. There's a process that great speakers follow. The process is to do some analysis, then some design, and then some delivery. And really, I would encourage everybody to take that incredibly seriously, to learn as much as you can about how to analyze your audience, work out what they want to hear from you, as well as what you want to achieve, and then how to design the message so that it's well crafted and masterful, and it's going to fascinate and compel your audience to take the action you require. That's incredibly important. And then the delivery pretty much takes care of itself when you do your analysis and your design correctly. Having said that, though, you know, Michael Grinder, world expert in body language, has a 5-day body language course for speakers and trainers. So there's no shortage of amazing content that you can learn about how to stand, how to gesture, how to look at your audience in the whites of their eyes, all sorts of things like that as well that are part of the stagecraft. When you don't take it seriously, you risk letting your audience down, letting yourself down, and importantly, maybe letting your cause down. And that frustrates me. You know, this idea, people say to me, well, I don't want to think about the message too deeply before I communicate it, because I'm worried about losing my authenticity. I don't want to sound like a robot. And I think that's the most gigantic nonsense and a huge victim cop out to say that, because if you don't think through your message, if you don't tailor that message to your audience's needs, then it's likely that they won't be fascinated, they won't be compelled to take action, and you're going to have 7 more meetings to get that idea over the line. And if that's an important thing that you're advocating, then that, to me, that is a disastrous waste of time.
It was a total waste. I remember sitting in a group once and I was hearing the story of this young woman who had escaped from this awful tragedy in Africa. And she sat quietly and just told it with the quietest words. And we all leaned in and could not understand or hear a bit of it. And it just perfectly demonstrates. I always think of what you say in that moment, that beautiful message just lost. And so that's where that's all of what you're saying is so important.
Tragic if you're a keynote speaker like that, that's really representing an amazing cause, and just downright annoying and frustrating if it's your great idea that you're pitching in a meeting and people just don't listen. You know, how often do I get calls from people saying, can you help me? Because when I go to meetings, people seem to write me off. They don't listen when I'm talking. I say, well, the reason they're not listening when you talk is because they think you're not saying anything important. So how are you going to think about what they need, structure the message, and then deliver it so that they do sit up and lean in the way you just described? Yeah,
that's so good. And clearly there's so much that sits behind what you're saying in those short statements. So and I've sat through I've experienced your 2-day course, so I know how much you can even learn in 2 days. What's your third tip? If there was one final nugget of gold, what
nugget? Essential to know, it's not about you, it's all about the audience. I popularized this concept in about 2003 with my first book. It's not about what you want to say or the way you want to say it. It's definitely not about how you want to stand or sit or move your body. And it's definitely not about the PowerPoint slides that you think you want to show. It's all about your audience and what you've got to say and do to serve them so that they do set up, they are compelled, and they want to take the action you require. That's how you maximize the communication opportunity. And when you fully get that it's not about you, like magic, you also stop being a nervous presenter. You know, they say nerves is one of the top fears. Well, I've done the research and we found nerves was the second top fear. 80% of people do fear death more than nerves. That's not true, that people fear public speaking more than death. Be funny if it was true, but it's not true. But it is true that 80% of people have some sort of fear or anxiety over speaking in public at some point in their life. And if you are someone that gets very anxious before an event or just hates public speaking altogether, learning how to get that focus onto the audience and realize that it's not about you, fully understanding that at a cellular level is what causes you to not be nervous anymore.
That is so good. I wish we could talk all day. And well, we've still got 3 minutes. So let's first of all just do I just want to hear, if someone wants to know more or learn more from you, what can they do? How can they get in touch with you, or what's coming up? How can we find out more?
It's a generous offer. So I have a book, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
So that's $25. That's a bargain.
It is a bargain.
Get that on my website.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That's an option. That's my 2-day course in a book. I do have a 2-day masterclass, and yay, we're back live running face-to-face training. Yay! So that starts in July.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness. Yes, so that's an option, and also lots of Zoom coaching these days as well for people that just want to keep it a little bit on the hush-hush, and they'd rather their boss didn't find out that they had this fear or had this inability to communicate as clearly as they want. So they'd rather do the coaching with me in a confidential sort of a way via Zoom, so no one needs to know that you're doing it. We can do it after hours, and we can work together just to take you to that next level where every time you communicate, you smash it and people are impressed.
That's so good. And you, in terms of what do you think are some of the things that stop people doing this sort of training or coaching? What are some of those blocks that you come up against that you can sort of just smash that resistance? No, you actually have a word for it, don't you? A poo.
Yes, so we might have to talk about that another time.
Yes.
Who's
the technique? Acronym, guys, an acronym. This is
who's the technique for managing conflict.
Managing conflict.
As well as many other things. So look, I honestly think that we've got to be very careful that we're not arrogant, that we think that we're doing enough, that we are communicating well enough, and that we're trying to be our authentic self, and so we don't have to take it seriously. I would strongly recommend that everyone has a good hard look at themselves. Am I taking the communication moments that I have in a day as seriously as I can to maximize the outcome? That's the main reason why people don't take steps. The other reason, of course, is just that you have a fear. It's terrifying for some people to speak in public. I've been telling a story for many years now about a client of mine, Jessica, and she fainted on 3 occasions over a 9-month period in front of the same audience. And when her boss called me, she said, "If you can't fix her, we're going to sack her." And devastating. You might think someone like that needed a psychoanalyst or some sort of psychiatrist to help them with such a fear of public speaking, but often it is as simple as your focus is wrong. And if you take the steps to learn how to present correctly and follow the formulas that great speakers follow, like Jessica did, then you're cured. On the 4th occasion, she smashed it. She got a standing ovation.
Wow.
She was in New York. She was the boss of everything. Now she's back in Australia and she's smashing her career, and she's never been scared of public speaking again. So it is very, very possible to cure your anxiety or your fear, and it'd be lovely if you just don't let that hold you back anymore, if that resonates with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I'm sure that everyone on board, I'm seeing some great comments already. Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. Knowing Michelle as I do, she's one of the most generous souls. And so it'll be 2 days, but it will feel like a lifetime, and it will stay with you for a lifetime. So thanks, everyone. We'll tune in soon, and I'll make sure you get all the links to Michelle's details. And we'll see you next week. I hope this helps you to tune up your business. We'll see you next time. Bye.